Okay, so for this bonus material that I'm going to provide you, I'm going to be showing you how I set up my Thinkorswim platform and some of the tips and strategies that you'll be offered here. There'll be probably a multiple lessons on this or multiple videos that you'll be able to click on. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open up my system, and here's what it will look like. It will ask you, do you basically want to open it, make changes to your device, and you'll put yes or no. And this is once you've installed it. You'll go through this process of installing any updates. So every time you log in, you'll actually have updates that are installed. And once the system pops up, you'll put in your username and your password, and you'll have two options. You'll have live trading or paper money. It'll look like this if it's paper money. Highlight if it is on live trading. Make sure it's on live trading. I know a couple people have accidentally been in paper money and they thought they were putting in live trades, and it actually was just simulated, or vice versa. They were practicing and they were in their live trading account versus their paper money. So just make sure that you choose the correct one. The paper money, it is live data. If you do request it from TD Bank or TD Ameritrade, you might have to have like $50 or $100 deposited into your account just for them to approve you for live data. But anyways, and once you're in your system, it will just start loading up like it is now. Okay, so once you're in your system, it will look like this. You'll have positions open if you do have any, working orders, etc., etc. And this system is a little complex, but if you get to know it, you will fall in love with it like I did. You can go to your different accounts and you could set up multiple strategy accounts, whatever you want to do, however you want to figure all of your positions and control those. It is easier to see all on one screen versus flipping through each one of your different types of accounts to manage positions. You'll have account statements, many that I've traded in the past. You scroll all the way down and you'll see profit and losses, your expense reports, and everything. You can type by symbols of your past performances 300 days back, all the way back to, you can change the dates to a custom time frame, whatever the case may be. For this video lesson only, I'm going to show you a couple of things cool about the Thinkorswim platform, and that is the on-demand feature, which allows you to basically go back in time, check other people's strategies, their positions, and see how they may have done, or you can check your own to see what happened if you was to get in right before or right after the 2008 boom, or unfortunately the boom down, and then reinvested, and see your performance as of today, or whatever the case may be. You have futures. I think that TD Ameritrade or Thinkorswim will be incorporating crypto here very soon for options and crypto itself. So just be aware of that. A couple of other things that I specifically want you to be aware of is up here on the Setup tab. Now I like to have my charts to look like this. We'll take a look at Boeing, and I run 3 RSI indicators, and that's a short term, or a very short term, a shorter term, and then about the average or normal what everyone runs, and that's a 14 by 75 by 25, and then a MACD. I will have courses on how to get used to these or how to use them, but I'm also going to provide you a way to import my studies as well along with this lesson. So that is another bonus that you'll get. You'll get all of my customized studies. Some of these I have coded myself, some others I found on the internet, some others I've tweaked them, and so on and so on. But these will be the popular ones that I like to use, and they have gotten me around 80 to 90, sometimes 95% accuracy or win rates. So I definitely have been able to read the charts a lot better with these strategies, amongst the other things like the fundamentals of companies, etc., etc. There's a lot to learn. But anyways, on the setup strategy, you'll go into the application settings, and a couple things that you want to take a look at is you can display your accounts. I always make sure they're set to all. Your orders, single orders only. Show order confirmation, clear order after sending, and assign subgroup to closing orders. Now for your positions, old layout defaults. I like to see my Delta, Gamma, Theta, and Vega. Also, the position P&L layout is obviously open and then day. The open will be since the position was open, and then day will just show whether or not you're having a good day or a bad day. And then Forex, I don't really worry about. I don't trade Forex. Position margin, buying power effect. You do want to see your buying power effect because that is the amount of buying power that you have left or remaining. And then group positions by instrument, mark in the money positions week before expiration. I do want to see which positions are in the money, whether they're losing in the money or going to win in the money. And then lines and positions table 7. Your active trader, as you can see, I do have certain things set like this. The system, real time. I obviously do not want my quotes delayed. You can do those. But I want real time. That should be checked. That's in general and in system. Security, you can do auto lockout feature where if you're away from your computer, you probably do want to change this. I don't have mine. I'm constantly at my computer. But it's almost like a screensaver, but it will time it out. It will log it out automatically if you are not away from, if you are away from your computer. Startup, look and feel. I do have a dark scheme on mine just because I don't like the brightness. Normal spacing, menus to show, and then display, show think log notes up to 3 months. That's over here, and any notes that come from Thinkorswim or TD Ameritrade. Calculations. Order defaults. This is going to be an important one. Your stocks. Okay, you have all kinds. You have market value, which you can just get assigned or basically put into shares at the market price. I always suggest you use limit for the fact that you control your prices. I don't want the market to assign me more for a share or more for stock if I can get into it at a much lower price. These stop order losses, these stop limits, trailing stops, and everything, they're pretty much they're going to be a little bit difficult for the new beginners, but for experienced traders and investors, you can basically put the stop limits, trailing stops. That means if the stock goes up more than your dollar, or you want to basically give yourself some leeways. If I want to sell Boeing at 142 and then no more, get rid of it, or under 139, 138, I can assign, I can change my order types here. For options, same thing, limit and standard. You can change your default stop type to bid and ask, but I put it on standard. Default quantity orders, you can do 1 through 100, 1,000, whatever. For the new beginners, I do recommend you put your quantity orders on 1. You can always change that. And for the fact that even the experienced traders and investors, I would probably go ahead and just recommend you do orders of 1, and then you can always change it, because if you get up into larger stocks like Amazon and everything, you're going to be messing with a bunch or a lot of shares. Then order increment by 1. You can change that to 2, 5, 6, whatever the case may be. Same thing with all the futures. So I pretty much have all of this set to the same limit, standard, unlimited, 1 and 1. And then my profile is obviously my website, my picture. You don't have to do anything. But if you're in the chat room, it is kind of nice for people to know what you look like. Unless you're an ugly mug like me, then you just don't care. But at the same time, this is pretty much my business picture that I use in a lot of my stuff. So it's pretty much for branding. So that's it for the setup. There's going to be this little gear here that is going to be the next feature that I suggest you use. And that is, you can change a lot of these over here, what your account shows, cash sweep, vehicle, buying power, etc., etc. As you can see, I have option buying power, stock buying power, net liquidating value, Forex buying power, day trading buying power, and cash sweep vehicle. You can change a lot of these. If your account is less than 25,000, you're probably going to want day trades left. I think you're allowed up to 3 in a 5-day rolling period, and that is in and out, in and out, and in and out. So pretty much the SEC says if your account is minimal, less than 25,000, they're only going to allow you 3 day trades, and that is into a position and back out, for the fact it's trying to cover your own asset or ass. But sometimes it's actually limiting those who can day trade and be very, very profitable at it. But that's the rules, and unfortunately it is what it is. Equity percentage, you can always change that, but a lot of these you can add, remove, however, but this is, again, my list here, what I have up top here. And obviously it does have a hidden feature, so you can train and maintain your clients or people, students, whatever, or just share videos. You can hide your account number and everything else involved. Now, some of the things that I have in the options trading table, that's this entire thing. It's going to look like this when you first open it up. Let me close this so it don't confuse you. It's going to look like this. You're going to have expiration dates. Over a year, 6/31, 4/14, these are all days. Most options expire on Fridays, but they do not clear until Saturday. So if a stock was to drastically change within 1 day on Friday evening, you could be screwed, and unfortunately that too is what it is. But most of the time you're going to be learning strategies with me or hopefully anyone that can teach us stuff where you're not going to have to worry really about that extra day. You're going to understand how to invest and not gamble. So these are all options. This is the option chain. As you can see, the days are correlated with the date. So as of today, this will expire tomorrow, this being Thursday, on May 1st, 1 day. And this is called a weekly. Weeklies, they're really no different. There's a big definition out there that changes the weeklies versus this. But really the premiums sometimes are a little bit better, I've noticed. Other than that, there's really no significant difference. So just keep an eye on that. So what we're going to do is right here, make sure your layout will show delta, gamma, theta, vega, rho, implied volatility, and all the others. So when I click on one of these tables, I can instantaneously see my numbers here. Now it's going to look very complex to a lot of you, but hopefully I can dumb this down enough. So these are all, this date will never change. You have your strike price, meaning which price that you want to work with when it comes to that stock. Boeing currently is trading at 141.05. Okay, these options here, you can actually play on different strike prices. The strike price meaning the stock price currently is 140, but if you want to mess with a stock price at 197, you do have the option to do that. However, there's no price here. The option, open interest and volume. The volume is currently traded today. The open interest is how many positions are still left open. When you see these numbers good or a lot like this, 10,000, 21,000, Boeing is definitely a liquid. There's plenty of volume in Boeing, and as we can see, these numbers are great. If you get into stocks like, I'll try to find one for instance. Some of these may or may not be liquid right now. You can see Nike is a little bit less performing, lesser than Boeing. Some USO, that's a there's actually a lot of interest in that. I think the other, during the crash, it was not doing so good, but I could do this probably all day long and look for a number of stocks to try to find that's not very liquid, and you will run across those. So anyways, back to Boeing, which is BA. You're going to have a couple things here. You have delta, gamma, theta, vega, rho. In all of my courses or in some of the previous lessons, you'll be able to understand what delta is, gamma is, theta, vega, rho. The implied volatility is shown for me, the open interest volume, and here's the bid and ask. These are the bid and ask prices of these options, similar to a bid and ask for the stock prices. Up here, you have bid and then ask. These are sell and buy prices. So one quick thing, you'll notice that some of these do have spreads, and again, I've stressed this in multiple some of my other courses, maybe even the lessons. In this course alone, is the bid and ask are usually, there's a spread or a difference in these two prices, and that's what the market makers down on the floor, that's how they make their money, similar to an auction. So unfortunately, you can control your prices depending on your limit orders. And remember, that's why I said focus. Make sure your buy option is set to limit, or your order option is set to limit and not market, because you want to control the prices you get in and get out. So that's the layup for your options, delta, gamma, theta. Once again, how do you get to this? It's right here up in the layout. Change it. You can delete it, customize. Matter of fact, here's the list for you guys. Customize information layout. You have delta, gamma, theta, vega, rho, implied volatility, open interest, and volume. I don't really need in the money probability for the fact that that's my delta. I've explained that plenty of times, that you can use your delta for probability of in the money or probability out of the money. So for example, I want to mess with an option, and that's the good thing with options. They do give you the probabilities. Sometimes those statistical means do get challenged, but most of the time it's nice to invest in something that you know your probability of success. So if I add probability in the money real quick and I move it up right next to my delta, you're going to see some correlation with that. Okay, look at your delta and then look at probability of in the money. So if I was to buy this option at 105 for Boeing, in 8 days, the probability of being in the money is 100% because it's so low. It's trading at 140 now, and we're looking at the 85, so it has a 100% chance of still being above above 85. So my delta correlates with pretty much probability in the money. You see it kind of changes. You have a 73 and a 68, and that's totally fine with me. So I don't even need this column tying up this space here. So I'm just going to go in, click this, customize, remove, and then OK. And then as you can see, my columns change. So that's how you set up your options table. Is again, here's the list one more time: delta, gamma, theta, vega, rho, implied volatility, open interest, and volume. Make sure those are there. You can, when you add columns, you scroll down, hit add item, you can move it up in the list, and that will change from left to right. Remember, left to right, left being up top, right to the bottom here. So I like to read my delta, gamma, theta, vega just like this. You can do it however you want, and then you'll just hit OK. You can also save or load defaults. Spread, I like to just do singles, but here you can actually set up the strategy. If you're looking to do an iron condor, it will give you iron condors. If you want to do a vertical, it will give you verticals. But I just do singles, and then I can also get into positions however I want. So, real quick, when you're buying options, you'll use the ask. If you're selling options, use the bid. And then we can get into some complexities with debit spreads, credit spreads at another time, but you can just hold down your control button and then work the two prices, or work the two strike prices. And as you can see, I can buy this for $43. I'm not going to go into grave detail right yet about that strategy or anything like that. Up here, you'll see the total volume traded as of today. That's 31 million. Boeing's definitely has a lot of volume. The open was the open price to which Boeing opened at 137. It's high of today, it's low of today, and then the current. Now for your charts. Again, you can just click on these. Go to style, settings. So right click on your chart, scroll down to style, and I hit settings. A couple things that I want to show you here. Obviously your time frame. I'm in Eastern time. You want to have all of this looking just like mine. You can mess with it. Extended order, alert lines to the left. You can do that if you want, but pretty much make sure you have it like mine. At least this is what I've used for years. The price axis, I leave it just like this. I might have changed a couple things there, around, but most of all, this probably stays the same. This is a key focal point right here. The expansion area. If I change this to 0, watch what happens to the chart. I don't have any room to kind of look out into the future. I don't like that. I changed mine to 55. Hit apply and OK, and you can see it expands out. This expansion area comes valuable or useful when you're using the parabolic Ichimoku or Moku, which that too I'll teach you later. That's also in one of my mentorship programs where I go one-on-one with you, all of the inside and outs for about 2 to 3 months, and then maybe longer if you need longer education. But this Ichimoku cloud basically allows me to understand what's to come in the near future, whether it's going to be a bullish, my support and resistance lines, the cloud and the area that this stock may trade at. I'm in the 4 hourly, so for instance, if I'm in a 3-week weekly, or 3-week weekly chart, this is what we're looking like. Probably looks like a bear market for Boeing, but then again, you can also probably read this. This may be a good point to get in because we're already in the bearish territory, and as soon as that breaks the cloud, you're probably going to see a pop. But that's just technical, I would suggest, and I can't make recommendations on anything. I'm not a financial advisor, but I can say that I would check the fundamentals, the valuations of Boeing and everything included in on that. So studies are not everything to go off of. There are a lot of fundamentals when it comes to investing in stocks. So let's get back to the table. You'll right-click that again, go down to settings, favorite time frames. I like to use 1 day, 1 minute, 5 day, 5 minute, so on and so on. You can set these up however you want, but I do like to be able to go more in detail when I want to see whether or not to get into a stock right at the current moment or hold out for at least a couple minutes or maybe a day or whatever. And with that being said, you can do that right here. Now the appearance, you can change this to red. Most of the time I do have this as red, not pinky pink. But a lot of people are familiar with the candle charts and candle trends. I don't like candles. They can fake you out a lot. Some people do. They believe in the candles, and depending on what type of candle you get, that will be the next move. I've traded too many times where I got faked out. I just like to see it is what it is, and that is a line. This is the highest point, or this is where it opened up at. This is the highest, this is the lowest, and this is the closing. Again, for the green, this is where it opened up. This is the highest, this is the lowest, this is where it closed at. And as you can see, sometimes it opens here and hit here. It's kind of hard to explain because most of the time these should jump. So if I was to look at this, that's probably not an accurate thing. But if you look on my chart, most of the time the lines do match up. Sometimes there are gaps, and as you can see in the last diagram, that was a gap down. But that's just a quick sell-off either before the time. Let me look at the time right here. And that was at... let me go to day. I'll show you for an example real quick these gap ups and gap downs. It's just for the fact it's usually in between trading days or off times. Yeah, so in pre-market time, you'll get these gaps, gap downs, gap up days. There is a strategy to that, trading that if you do wish to do so. I pretty much wouldn't recommend it. But anyways, that's why that's showing gap ups or gap downs. Up here, if I'm wanting to check the price at a certain day or week, month, whatever the case may be, I'm going to go in a day. I'm going to clear this Ichimoku cloud for you guys. Go in my TTM squeeze. All right, so for instance, if I want to look at, hey, what did it do on this candle? What day was this? Look right here in this section. Every time I hover over something, it gives me the date. Gives me the open, the high, the low, the close. And the type of strategy here. So you can just move along there. I was letting you see how the dates change. Then over here are the strike prices. So if I want to move my mouse and say, what is this price right here? Look off to the right here. Hover over it. 375.53. What date is that? 11/26/19. Again, hover over that and look left up and right. Look right over here. Look left up and look right. 11/26/19 at 375.53. You can also look down here. If you've got a study on that has the dates. I won't go into grave detail about these studies, but I will show you all of my study setups that I do use. I do use simple moving averages with an RSI. I do use Bollinger Bands, momentum, implied volatility is a must, and MACD. The clean Ichimoku, the IV, RSI, TTM, MACD. Keltner channels, multiple time frames, parabolic, Ichimoku, volume, average, MACD, money flow, RMO, waves, and so on and so on. Some of you might say this is a lot, and it is. I want to be able to correlate or confirm each one of my assumptions with my history and its performance. So if I know that RSIs are showing, yes, the stock is going to burst, or if it's going to boost, depending on what this shows, I might go into another study and say, okay, let's look at the Ichimoku cloud. Okay, it looked like it might go through the roof right here. If I go to load study and go to Raging Bull, which is an insider that Raging Bull guys do. It's not confirmed whether or not this is the exact setup, but reading and studying of what they do, it's very simple. They do use moving averages and the crossovers of. The TTM squeeze. This is similar to when a stock is about to explode up or may explode down. This is kind of giving me a reading that we're in a TTM squeeze right now based upon the daily chart. And we just came out of earnings, so the stock's about to act like a rubber band. It got squeezed, or for example, it had got expanded out, it got pulled on, and what happens when you let go of a rubber band? It just takes off. Unfortunately, we don't know which way it will go, but there's a couple of things that I'm looking at right now that tells me I know which way it should go. Plus, I know the financials of Boeing. And then the VWAP is commonly used with day trading 1, 5-minute, 15-minute charts. This tells you whether or not the stock is currently overvalued or in the upper range. As you can see, it started falling. This is the median or mean, or it is a good buy signal. So if it dropped, you can see traders got in to where when it hit the green line, exploded up and they got out. So we have 135.2 and 144.43 range right here, and then now it's steadily just sideways now that we're going into the evening time. So that's pretty much it. Setting up with your Thinkorswim platform. You guys can use the settings that I used or do your own. I do recommend and highly suggest you trade on the paper side for a few months, and then the more accurate or more profitable that you get with success, definitely start trading live. It is a mentality or a psychological thing when you are trading with paper money compared to your real money. When you go in to throw in your real dollars, you start hesitating. If you can definitely get comfortable with the paper side, have conviction in your trades, your assumptions, your theories, whatever the case may be, the patterns, you will become a better trader or a better investor. Yeah. Traders are short-term, investors are long-term. I do diversify long and short-term myself, but again, if you want to test your strategies, you can do your paper side, or you can do what I do is on demand, and then you can set your dates, study, patterns, history, performance, etc., etc. So let me click off on demand. I've got one other thing to show you before I want to end this video, and that is the product depth area. You can see your implied volatility according to the calls and put side, and at the strike prices of what the options are doing. And then why is that not showing up? Right here, I don't know why Boeing's not showing today's there it goes. Today's option statistics. One of the secrets that I use and I teach my students this, is check your 52-week low and your 52-week high and compare that with the current IV percentile. Also the current historical volatility percentile. This is going to show you the range to which the current IV rank is at. We know that the higher the implied volatility, the premium in stock options go up, and then the lower implied volatility, those options are pretty much worthless or they're lower value. So for instance, this current IV percentile is at 31, and then current historical volatility is at 44%. I know right here there's some room to go up, because right now this is telling me we're in the 31% range, and the weekly 52-week high, was 200%. So we're around 31% right now. So it still has room for those options to go up in value. So would I technically get into Boeing options if I'm buying? No. If I'm buying, possibly. If I'm selling, probably not. You want to sell when things are high and buy when they're low. So if we take a look at this, for instance, even though the option implied volatility shows 75, 74%, we know that it probably could go up to 80, 90, 100, 120 possibly, and these options become a lot more rich. Real quick, we see implied volatility on average is 82%, and if we look at the chart, sure enough, they're around 75%, 120%. If we go out a little bit longer, they should be about the same. Yep. One of the other things to mention, the farther out you go, options are more pricey. That can work in your favor on certain strategies, but I like to stick to the 36, 43, pretty much the 35-day and the 45-day. If I'm selling options, it's perfect because they start decaying at that time, and if I'm buying options, I still have enough time for them to go in my favor. If you look at Boeing, not the intrinsic value, but the volume, there's actually no volume in these. So if I look at 1-8 expiration dates, there's a lot of volume. So a lot of traders are short-term for Boeing. They can pick up a couple $100 here in just a matter of 8 days. So anyways, that's pretty much it for this. If you got any questions, feel free to definitely reach out to me. I am taking new students on the mentorship program. I basically take a look at your portfolio. You tell me how much you've got to work with, and then we come up with a price for you. I'll be fully transparent about that. Obviously, it does. It's very worth it. You'll learn a lot from me, and I definitely want to make you into a better investor. I've got a couple students doing anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000 a month. However, their accounts are very, very large. Some of the students are making about 10% consistently on a monthly basis. I don't know about you, but to make almost 120% in a year is fantastic. So I'm definitely looking to work with anyone that's interested. You can go to the website investingwithchris.com, and that's it for this video lesson.